Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the Finance and Governors Committee for April the 11th. And Madam Clerk, roll call and posting of the agenda.
Member Turan,
Here.
Chair Zaragoza,
Here.
we have a quorum, and the agenda for this meeting was posted on the City Hall Bulletin Board on April 4th, 2023.
And Councilwoman Basu won't be with us for personal reasons this evening. Please join me in saluting our flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our next item is the consent item, and this is item C1, City Clerk Department, approval of the minutes, recommendation that the
Chair
finance...
Zaragoza,
Excuse me, okay.
what about the public comments not on the agenda? We do not have any speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Oh, thank you. Okay. I'm almost perfect. I feel like Mayor Pro Tem. I hope he's watching this. Thank you so much. Okay, City Clerk again. C1, approval of the minutes that the Finance Governance Committee approve the minutes of the March 28, 2023 regular meeting as presented. And Councilmember, have an opportunity to...
I did review the minutes, and I would like to move to accept the minutes as presented.
Thank you, and I also looked at the minutes. Thank you so much. So, roll call. First by Turan, second by Mayor. Oh, we're on? Okay, excuse me. I'm doing great today.
Motion passes 2-0.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, there we are.
Did it go on?
We're on.
We're good? Okay. Okay, our D1 is our reports. This is proposed user fees for group picnic site reservations with CFD number 7. And the recommendation that the Finance and Governance Committee recommend that the City Council adopt a resolution establishing the new user fees for 2 picnic areas built within the Community Facility District 7 Wagon Wheel. And of course, this was under Measure M, a pre-recorded presentation. And Councilmember Turan. Any questions?
No major questions, Mayor. I'm wondering if would we have Mr. Howlett or Mr. Miller who are going to speak on this item?
If any at all.
Just hoping for a quick clarification for folks. I was just hoping that we could outline, just for the public record, the way that we came about the amount of each of the fees and the difference between the 2 sites and why there's 2 different fees for the 2 different sites proposed.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilmember, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Anthony Miller. I'm the project manager for the Special Districts Division who developed this particular report. And the determination of these fees were based on the fees that are already established in the River Park area, as the picnic sites that were built in the Wagon Wheel area are most closely resemble the picnic sites in the River Park area. The River Park fees were developed as a part of a fee study that was done back in the 2017-18 timeframe, and as they provide very similar services, it was determined that we could establish a similar fee for these particular sites, and adjusting them slightly based on the fact that capacity is slightly different due to the fact that there are a different number of tables at the Wagon Wheel sites and a lack of a barbecue feature at the Wagon Wheel sites, which are the only differentiating factors for the between the River Park and Wagon Wheel sites.
And let me, a quick question, I want to ask. So there's different rates for the group rates and then for single rates, is that correct?
Correct.
Which is what's $50, I think, with $30 with a $50 refundable deposit.
The group rate for what would be considered the group picnic area in Wagon Wheel, Area 1, $30 was chosen as there is a slightly lower person capacity at the Wagon Wheel area. There are fewer tables at that site, as in the River Park area. And in order to differentiate the wagon wheel and the River Park sites appropriately, there was a lower rate was chosen.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but one question, and let you go. And this is part of the master fee schedule for all the parks.
This would, I'll have to go to the staff report.
I think
here in a
that's
minute.
under your slide 25.
Yes. Slide there, sorry.
Be added to the master fee schedule.
So there would be an administrative action that we could add this to the master fee schedule. This would not be, here we go. Sorry, I have to read through this again real quick. It's been a little bit since I typed this up. Yes, so during the annual update process performed during the budget process in June, this will be added to the master fee schedule then.
And it won't be part of the, won't impact the general fund.
Correct.
This is your area, go ahead.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I appreciate all the work that's gone into this. I do want to also thank the residents of the Wagon Wheel Neighborhood Council who initially brought this forward as well and requested that reservations be looked at for the particular sites. And we're open to a reservation and a fee and a deposit like we have structured at other parks. So I just want to point out to folks that this is, again, some of the potential for neighborhood councils to be able to affect positive change directly within their own neighborhoods. So one last follow-up question, Mr. Miller or Mr. Howlett. In the future, as time goes on here, if we see that the cost of the fees are maybe not covering the cost of cleaning up each of the reservations, what's the process to go about changing the fees if we need to? I'm guessing that would be across the board, not park by park, correct?
Correct. So there is, my understanding is that there is a current project about updating the city's fees across the board. That would require a fee study, and that would not only be park fees, but like I said, across the board. And park fees would be included in a fee study at that time as well. So if there were costs that needed to be adjusted or fees that need to be adjusted to meet costs, they would be captured in a fee study at a future date.
Okay. And I just wanted to ask that so that folks in the public can know that we won't just arbitrarily go and just raise the fees. There is going to be a process that will involve notifying the public and having it come to this this committee and to the council in the future as well. So it wouldn't just be one day the fees go up, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Those are my questions.
Would that be, Mr. Miller, part of the annual budget when we adjust fees accordingly? Is that, Michael, is that?
Yeah, good evening, Michael Wolf, Director of Public Works. So I wanted to go back and touch on something Anthony mentioned about fee studies, and it's a routine process. I know we were trying to embark on that process. I believe it's been put on pause for right now, so I don't want anybody to feel like there's going to be an immediate fee study coming.
Right, yeah.
But certainly that's a routine process. You know, every so many years you go back and you look at that. Whether it's coupled into the budget process, that's a decision we can make. Staff makes that, but not necessarily has to happen as part of the budget process, right? So normally what you would do is over routine time, you would take a look at your fees, and if those adjustments would come to the council for consideration based on a fee study, an analysis, and not all the time, not every time, and not all the time do cities actually charge the full cost of recovery. So there's a decision to be made, a council decision to be made at that point. And once that is done, if that is done, then it actually does affect the budget. So at some point in time, you may have to adjust your budget because if your revenues are going up, you want to make that adjustment. So it doesn't necessarily have to be as part of the budget process, but usually turns into some adjustment as part of your budget.
But I think this is a good process because it also helps the neighborhood set up a schedule, you know, to have a picnic, you know, whether it's going to be a family or it's going to be a single use as opposed to going out to the park and they can't get to the park or can't use it because, but I think it's good for the neighborhood as was mentioned before, you know, which Yes, sir, go ahead.
I do have one last question, sorry about that. And it just came to mind because it's come up as discussion in River Park in the past. Regarding the refundable deposit, can you just explain briefly what the $50 refundable deposit is, and then why that might be withheld typically from someone who reserves a site?
Sure. Councilmember Tran, to answer your question, the $50 refundable deposit is just to cover any unforeseen expenses. Say staff shows up after the event and they got to work some overtime, or some equipment is damaged. Perhaps a picnic table is damaged, or the barbecue pit. So it's just an insurance to make sure that the site is cleaned up to the best of their ability and there's no damage to the facility. And then we release the deposit back to the reserving party.
It's refundable, yeah.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this was part of the discussion in River Park, is that it seems that history has shown that it's been few and far between that those deposits have been withheld. Is that correct?
Correct. Most of the time, if the majority of the time, people are very courteous about leaving the site clean, and so it has minimal impact.
Okay, thank you. That was my last question.
And I can share with you, $50 is very minimal, for the use of a park. It's really minimal. So I think it's really appropriate that we charge that. Thank you. So what's gonna move?
All right.
Chair, excuse me, Chair
Any
Zaragoza.
speakers on this item?
No, we do not have any speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Thank you. So we need a motion.
So I'll move that we recommend that the city council adopt a resolution establishing the new user fees for the two picnic areas in Wagon Wheel.
Thank you, and I'll second that. So please vote.
Motion passes 2-0.
Thank you. So that puts us on the next item is any items for a future agenda? None. If not, we're adjourned. So we'll see you at 8:30. Thank you.
Well, I won't be.